Next, I want to talk about sweeteners. So I want to start off with dates, which is something that I use a lot in baked goods for my daughter when I do not want to use sugar. Dates are good as a sweetener. They're not too sweet, and it doesn't, when you use dates, it doesn't equate to added sugar to your food item. And so what I do with the dates is that I'll put them in my blender with added water and I'll blend it up really well. And then I'll use that liquid in the baked good as a sweetener. What I do want to say about that is, first, usually when I use dates, it's in conjunction with bananas or applesauce, something like that, because in plant-based baking, you don't use eggs. And a lot of times I will use bananas, I may use applesauce as a binder. They are also sweet. So even though I'm using them as a binder, they add sweetness as well. So when I add in the date sweetener, it's in conjunction with something already in that baked good that is sweet. What I also want to say is when I take dates and I mix it with water in the blender and add it as a sweetener, it is a liquid sweetener. Not all baked goods can take a liquid sweetener. Some foods and baked goods require a dry sweetener, and in that case, you would not want to use the dates and water mix. Other options for that, if you want to still use dates, would be to use date sugar, which I don't have here, but you can find it in any grocery store. So that's if you can't use that liquid date sweetener. Another sugar that I have, or another sweetener that I have, is the coconut sugar. Coconut sugar is a dry sweetener, so it's just like, regular sugar that you know about. It does have a distinct flavor and taste, so some people don't like it. If it's something that you want to add to your kitchen and use as a staple, you may want to taste it first to make sure that it's a sugar that you would want to use, but it's definitely a good sugar. Next, I have what most people already know about, which is sugar in the raw. Let's see if I can show you that. I have a rubber band around it to keep it closed, but this is sugar in the raw. Most people are familiar with it. I do use it a lot in baked goods, just as I would use white sugar if I were to use white sugar. Even though it is a better alternative to white sugar, I do want you to keep in mind that it is still sugar. So as with any sugar, you want to limit your sugar intake. But it's definitely a better alternative, and it is something that I use as a sweetener. Also, I have agave. As you can see, this container is almost empty. I buy agave in bulk, and I generally get it from Costco or BJ's, and it'll come 2 of these containers in one package, and I'll use it as a sweetener in baked goods. It is a liquid sweetener, so if you are baking something that cannot use a liquid sweetener, you would not want to use this. You can also use it as a syrup or anything like that. So this is a good sweetener. It's also good for diabetics because of the way it metabolizes in your system. And then my final sweetener that I have here is controversial. It's honey. Technically, it's not vegan, so because I consume honey, then I'm not an official vegan, but I'm okay with that because I do like honey, and I do use it for medicinal purposes as well. So I did want to put it here for those who are not necessarily trying to be an official vegan, or for those who aren't trying to be vegan at all and are just trying to add more healthy options in their kitchen. Then I did want to show you honey. When you get honey, you want to make sure that it is the raw, unfiltered honey. And when at all possible, you want to make sure that you get local honey from a local beekeeper, especially if you're using it for medicinal purposes, because local honey from local bees will work best as medicine for your body. It's still medicinal if you use other honey, but for the most part, you want to make sure that it's local. Conventional honey in the grocery store a lot of times comes from China. It is a lot of times filtered, and it doesn't have all of the health benefits as raw, unfiltered honey. So like I said, this is not technically vegan. So if your thought is to become vegan, you would not want this to be part of your diet, unless you're like me and it's just your preference. But if you are trying to be a strict vegan, you would not want to use this. You would want to use agave or some other sweetener like that. Now, these are the main sweeteners that I use. There are some other ones out there, but again, I'm just showing you kitchen essentials, especially kitchen essentials for me. And these are the essential sweeteners that I use.